I didn't realize how powerful London's creative energy was until I stepped out of the van in Shoreditch with my bags in hand. Almost every day, it was just me and my camera, exploring, wandering through alleys that were bursting with art, having real conversations with strangers. People were more than willing to share their stories and some of their favorite hidden spots. It hit me. Culture isn't just about art on a wall. It's community, it's connection. It's meant to be shared. That's how it continues to expand. In Shoreditch, creativity is living, it's breathing, and it's being put on display for the world to see. I wandered into a tattoo shop on a whim, and that's where I met Amar. He was mid-session, but he told me to hang tight. He was quiet at first, but once we started talking, I knew I'd found a friend. Amar had moved from Lebanon only a month before, and with his first child on the way, life was changing fast. We talked about how he trained jiu-jitsu, and it turns out that we even have mutual friends that train together back here in Austin. It's funny how small the world really is. With patience and genuine curiosity, even a language barrier can't stand in the way of genuine connection. Life in Shoreditch just seems to have a rhythm all on its own. It's the kind of place where creativity spills out of the streets, where a walk to get a coffee might turn into a conversation with a stranger or an invite to a local dinner party. There's a real sense of community here. It's diverse, it's expressive, and it's been extremely refreshing. Right, good morning. Day 2 here in London. Kind of a slow start here this morning. It's almost noon now and just been kicking at the house, got some coffee. But yeah, kind of a slow morning, just waking up and seeing everything that's happening back in the States, and with these riots and all the protests, and even reaching Austin, Texas now, which is home. So just took a slow morning, kind of heavy way to wake up. Just thinking about how things are progressing in the States, and what our place is in that, and how to process all that, like give it the time that it deserves. There's people all over the world watching. There's murals going up, last night that were talking about what's happening in the U.S. So we're definitely, living as an example, and there's Americans and expats all over the world still watching and caring about what's happening at home. So that said, that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to put some feet to the streets today, soak up some more of this amazing city. Laptop, handy dandy converter. Ditch these headphones because I haven't used them one time. And then we'll grab this tripod. Taking your legs.
Out here eating a salted beef bagel. Listening to Nipsey Hussle. Sun's coming out. About to go get another tattoo.
I spent most of the early afternoon wandering Shoreditch, camera in hand, just soaking in the people and the art. Every corner felt like a new story. I was able to grab some food and headed back in for a second tattoo session to finish the piece we had started the day before. A king's crown, and the words, "Heavy is the head." Fitting, I thought, in a place like England with its long royal history, and the symbolism ran deep. To me, that phrase speaks to the true weight of leadership, the burden of responsibility, and the mindset it takes to carry it with grace. But here's the thing, I see leaders everywhere, not just in crowns or with titles, but in people navigating life with strength and intention. Artists, parents, business owners, those who show up daily, quietly carrying the load. They don't ask to be seen, but if you're paying attention, they're all around. And it's usually worth shaking their hand and asking them about where they've been. That's how we continue to learn and grow together.
What's your name?
Peter Proper. Peter Proper. I'm born and bred in South East London, but I'm a kind of, graffiti artist, street artist, but I'm more of a curator, creator, facilitator, bringing other artists together for like community concepts, ideas, outreach work, especially around sort of mental illness and things like that in recovery, like giving artists a platform to celebrate the arts through recovery, or celebrate recovery through the arts. It's kind of like the tagline. London is one of the most multicultural, diverse cities in the world in terms of creeds, colours, religions, backgrounds. So you have literally got all different like kind of influences from all over the world. Literally the earliest depiction of anyone expressing themselves in any way is through graffiti. You know, which people don't seem to realise, but it's been there since dot. And when you see it, and it's global, isn't it? It's just all over the world. It's something that people can resonate from. They see emotions, they see feelings, they see colours, but it can also brighten up people's day. But then there is another side of the graphic. It can also make people feel like it encourages antisocial behaviour. So it's like ups and downs to it, but it depends where you are. But I think over the last 10 years, it's like definitely become a lot more celebrated. Places like this, like Leek Street, you know, we'd run workshops and things like that where it sort of encourages young people to sort of like be okay with it and like have a safe space where they can come and express themselves. I kind of dropped it for a while and I was off on other things, you know, and I always had it, you know what I mean? I always had a pen in my pocket, but I guess it's in the last sort of 5-6 years that I've really picked it up again, and it's like, it's therapy to me now.
After Leek Street, I made my way back to East London. I was out for a walk when I met a group of friends that were visiting from all over the world. Hafa, the artist you see here, was from Brazil. She hadn't touched a spray paint can in over a decade, but she was painting these amazing cartoon portraits of her friends, and I had to capture the moment. Then came my favorite stop of the whole trip, Cafe 1001. That's where I met Elliot Ferguson, a DJ, music curator, and head of programming for the cafe. Our conversation hit deep and mirrored so much of what I've been learning about the creative scene here in Austin. It reminded me I'm not alone. There's real potential for creative communities to connect, share, and grow together. I hope you enjoy our conversation.
This building that we're in now has been Cafe 1001 for 25 years. It was a big part of like the first wave of Shoreditch, you know, as a creative hub, I suppose. So like this space that we're in now in a lot of different forms has seen, it's been a constant throughout this the whole East London like creative boom, which is pretty cool. But like the site that it's on as well also has a lot of history. So like the old Truman Brewery like used to be the biggest brewery in the world. So this whole estate, it's like one of the biggest pieces of land in London. It's absolutely enormous. So you know, there's a lot of history around here, and I feel like you can really feel it. Brick Lane in itself is like a super historical place. You've got a lot of it's like inherently like multicultural. There's all walks of life live around here, and I think that really feeds the energy around here. It's super cool. Obviously, you've got the super famous bagel shops down there. So you've got, you know, the sort of the East London Jewish community that's sort of down that way. You've got the Bangladeshi community down there, and then you go into Whitechapel. You've got a lot of Pakistani. It's wicked, and you know, it's a perfect example of how integration works, and it's a beautiful example of what the reaping the rewards of integration and sharing culture. Cafe 1001 in its current form was a reaction to the club next door shutting down, so we still wanted it to continue to be a music-centric space. So the guys, before I started here, built this like beautiful DJ booth over there, and we sort of changed it into a more like hi-fi led space. So we've got Shivers from Friendly Pressure, who's one of the residents of the Truman Brewery. So again, going back to that like that constant it's an ecosystem. So Shivers, you know, bought this beautiful like vintage sound system that we're constantly like tweaking and changing, and so it's not so much a club anymore. You know, we don't open late, we shut at midnight, but it's a space where if you're into music and maybe don't want to go out and get crazy all night long, you can just come and just listen to music for a beautiful sound system without it being too. It's like Hot Topic in London at the minute there's a lot of these like listening bars popping up, and it's interesting, like, to think like what actually like defines a listening bar, because I wouldn't call us a listening bar, because our sound system is like isn't the best in the world. It's not like we haven't spent, you know, hours and hours cost like 3D print. A lot of these like listening bars, you know, have got their system is built
for sure. I've
custom
seen
for them. Whereas we've just got a bunch of like old speakers that sound great, but
it's kind of like a Japanese influence listening
massive,
room, right?
Yeah. The operation here very much is like a collaboration between a lot of like quite big minds. So we've got a social media manager. Sorry, not social media manager. I'm sorry. He hates it. Not social media manager. Like a communications consultant. So Tom, who's now a really good friend of mine, came in and really pointed us in the right direction with how we were going to push ourselves online and how we can build outwards, which then led us to start a radio station out here, which we do every Friday. Again, like I don't sit here and like deep it so much, because I'm always thinking ahead. I'm not thinking about like, oh, we did that really well. I'm like, right, cool. What's happening? What's happening?
Next?
How are we going to make this better? It's an investment, like I was saying to you before about spaces like this not necessarily being historically like a sustainable economic driver, is because to get the most out of this space, you need to invest. Financially in building a team that's up for it. Otherwise, it's gonna fall flat on its face. You've got to pay people. If you want good minds to come in and lift your space and get it to reach its full potential, you've got to pay them, man. So it's an investment, and I think that's where a lot of places fall short, is the unwillingness to go that extra mile. And really invest in that space. And I think that's always where I start to question people's motives at that point. I'm like, so what is it? So what is it that you're after? Do you want, like, is this a vanity project? Or like, do you really want to like do this?
Is this a portfolio? Portfolio play, or whatever.
That's because I'm English and cynical. From pretty young, I think I was like maybe like 15. I was back home in Liverpool. I was in a band with a couple of my mates from school, and we ended up doing like pretty well. We got signed, and from then I think that didn't, because I was 16, 17, full of ambition,
aspiration,
I was like, I am gonna go and be a rock star. And I think that didn't happen, but the idea and the notion that music was going to be my career in some way or another never really like left me. So I didn't go to university. I started DJing, and like I guess like the rest is kind of, it's just like, I don't know, like I don't really know how it happened, to be honest. This is actually, you've really threw it on me here, because this is the first time I've actually really like thought about it from like okay, that led
trajectory,
to that. Yes. Well, you know what? Like, I'll be honest. Like, I lost it for a bit. So when I first moved to London, I was working freelance. I was like DJing full time, doing like a little bit of like graphic design for a few like bars back up in Liverpool. And as soon as I started to live like invoice to invoice, like paycheck to paycheck, I did lose the love for it, and it really took the shine out of it. So then this is when I started working here, and as soon as I could afford to say no to like some things that didn't like fill, didn't like fill me with like joy. I was doing like some real sketchy gigs.
Just burning out.
That's it, just burning the candle at both ends. My mum was always just told me that like she never put any pressure on me to go to university. Never, she was like, if that's what you want to go and do, go and do it. That's cool. So I think I owe like probably quite a lot to her understanding and patience.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like you need a support network if you're going to do something like this, you know, especially when you're working freelance, you know. As back then I would have been like 27, like ringing my mum up. Like, Mom, can I lend some money? You know,
it's bad.
when all your friends are all in like high flying, you know, jobs with degrees, like you feel like a bit of a loser. So like I am chill about it, but I had to go through a lot of
growing pains,
a lot of turmoil, a lot of shame. You know, like there was a lot of shame that I felt like when I first moved to London. You know, my partner, like, bless her, was so kind to me. You know, would pay like more in rent, would like pay for like more of her share of food, and I feel like if you haven't got that support system around you, you're gonna have a really hard time. Because I felt ashamed, and she always had to like remind me that like, well, it is pretty cool that you've managed to like move to one of the capitals of culture, if not the capital of culture in the world, and you're making your way, you know, doing something that you love. And I would have to be reminded of that quite regularly, because all I felt was shame. Because I was just broke.
No, well, no, I commend you on speaking openly about that, and like, because it's a reality for some. I've experienced it. You know, it's the only way through. You know, horrible. And I've experienced that my own way. Like getting out of the military and then starting over at 25 was like, I definitely felt behind. You know, and then, you know, you have to push through that if you're truly passionate about and trying to create a lane for yourself. Like there's no other way to recreate that, you know. That's why I respect creatives, is because everybody's gone through that in some shape or form, or still is. But how many people actually openly talk about that? And when they do, they all go, oh yeah, me too. You know, I understand. Really, you know, like to
talk about it,
I do too.
I felt weird. I was like, I honestly, like, genuinely would sit. I remember like one night, like I think me and my girlfriend had been to the pub or something, and we like took a little walk around one of the parks just by where we live, and we like sat on this hill, and I just for no reason at all just burst out crying. I was like, I'm so stressed, I'm so burnt out, I've got no money. I feel like a loser. I feel like an absolute loser. And like, it's so interesting, isn't it? You know, that like the Instagram versus reality, because as a creative you have to put on especially in like the DJ space, you have to put on a brave face and be like, everything's fine, I've got this gig coming up. I was just like, you know, I'm the guy, look at all this cool stuff that I'm doing, whereas actually like I'm just sat in my flat just going like, oh,
sleep deprived.
Just like, I think just being poor was the hardest thing, man. So poor. You know, when I was super stressed and I had no money, the way I expressed myself was through drinking and partying and staying up late. Because it you know, even though that was it was a release of something. And then I feel like they feel almost like the same function. One just has absolutely horrendously like negative implications on your on your mental health.
Everything. Your health, physical health, everything.
When you start deciding to express yourself positively is when you start to really see change. Flying out of Heathrow.
I gotta take the train here in a minute. I got like fucking 150 pounds of bags, it feels like.
Those patty bags are good though, man. I've travelled with them.
The black hole.
The black hole,
that's awesome.
I
don't like the rolly suitcases. I feel like a dork. Like, I'm like, bro, I'm a grown man. I can carry my bag.